Hey everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to the promised video that I made earlier in the week that I was going to build the small lift bundle for Max Q rockets, and that consists of 3 rockets. You can get them individually if you like, or you can buy them as a bundle pack and save a little money, which is the ideal way to go, and that's what I did. But the small lift pack consists of the Firefly Alpha, which I have built in the past and flown, so I'm very familiar with this one. But he also just released the Rocket Lab Electron and the ABL RS1. Now, I'm going to build all 3 of these in this short video. I'll be honest with you, the majority of the building is going to just be applying the decals. It's a very straightforward build, and I think we'll be able to get through it rather quickly, and I hope it'll inspire you to get a set yourself and get out there and fly some. So without any further ado, let's start with the Firefly Alpha. We'll get that built up and decaled and ready to go, and then we'll proceed with the other 2. Okay, right off the bat, let's go ahead and open up the package and see what we get in the kit. I can tell you one thing I can tell right off the bat that he's already updated is the fact that he is now going to streamer recovery as opposed to parachute. And as far as I'm concerned, that's more than adequate because these things are so lightweight and small that I think a streamer would be ideal, especially if you're flying off of grass or a soft landing surface. This will be perfect for you. Because of where I fly, I still may try to use parachutes when available, but again, that's to your own personal preference, but he does provide a good quality idea there with the streamer. Okay, so let's get that little baggie out. Let's get the instructions and information pamphlet out. Let's pull out some of these other little parts to go with it, and that empties the bag. So let's see what we got here. We got some decals. We've got the nose cone. We also have the nose cone insert, which we'll look at here in a bit. We've got the engine retainer cap, his brand new tapered, and from what I can tell, much beefier and thicker clear fin can, and of course the main body tube. So let's also take a quick look at the information pack. You do get this nice little pamphlet giving the history of the rocket and the company, what the performance characteristics are on it. Yeah, just all the particulars, and that's also going to act as our reference to where we're going to mount the decals as well. So there you go. If you want to scan that code, you can get to their website via that QR code right there. And then the instructions, which again, very, very simple. So let me go and clear the board and get just the parts we need, and we will get right into the building. You can see there's an assembly and then decals, and then prepare for flight. It doesn't get much easier than that. So this would be actually the ideal starter rocket, and for the price point, it's durable. It's going to last you. Minimal repairs if any. So it'll last pretty well for the novice. All right, let me clear the board and we'll get right into the assembly. Okay, the first step is taking the Kevlar cord, which is provided in the kit, and we're going to go ahead and unwind it, which is pretty easy to do. And one thing I like to do when I work with Kevlar is take some thin CA and just pour a little bit on the end. And what that does is it stiffens the end, it also cleans it up, and when you're done, also let me get a quick spray of kicker here. You can cut it and it'll stay sharp and not unfurl on you. So, okay, then I'm just going to snip the very tip off there. Okay, now I've got a good strong point to work with. Okay, so what we do is we take the body tube, and you'll notice there's 3 holes. There's 2 holes at the base of the launch lug, and then there's one in the side of the body tube right there. We're going to take the Kevlar and pass it through the front hole on the launch lug. Okay, then we're going to pass it back through the other hole. Okay, now we're going to tie this off onto the line, and I'm going to try to do a slip knot here if I can. To do a slip knot, you just start with the standard knot, but then you tie it off to the original line, just like that. Then as you pull it tight, it cinches down basically on itself. Now let me undo that just a little bit, because I need to trim off. Well, you know what I can do is actually, let me just cinch it down. Yeah, before I glue anything, let me just go ahead and complete all these steps. So now that I've got that slip knot cinched down nice and tight, I'm going to go to the other end of the Kevlar. Do the same process. I'm just going to douse it with the thin CA. Okay, and we'll speed up the process with some accelerator. Just kind of wipe it down, and then we're going to trim the tip off. And trust me, this will make threading it through those holes so much easier. Okay, now we're going to pass this line through the hole that's in the body tube, just like that. Let me get that line out of the way. And I want to make sure it's kind of rolling up the right direction. Yep, it's coming. So just keep feeding it through, and eventually there it is. It'll come out the front. You grab it and then pull it through. As you pull, cinches down on that knot. Now what you can do is just take one little small drop of thin CA on the knot. Make sure you pull everything tight. If you want to spray some kicker, you can. Okay, that locks it in. And then we can take our X-Acto knife, because it's going to be hard to get scissors in there, and just cut the Kevlar close to the knot, but not all the way at the knot. And what we can do later is just paint that with either black paint or even a black Sharpie. Might be able to fill that in. But the important thing is you've got the Kevlar coming out the front. Once you do that, we're just going to take the front of the Kevlar and we're going to tie a loop. Easier said than done. There we go. Okay. Okay, pull that nice and tight, and same thing. Just a drop of CA glue. Thin, and make sure you use thin, because that way it'll wick into the threads much easier. Okay, and then we're just going to trim this little tail off. Just like that. Okay, now we can set our plastic sheet aside. We're done with that. We're done with the CA glue. The next step is taking our nose cone, and there's a screw-on plug that we'll screw on here in a bit, but first we're going to use the two holes there to mount our elastic cord. Similar process as before. We're going to slip this down, up and down through, and then just tying off a little knot. There we go. And we can trim that little tail off. Now what I like to do whenever I'm dealing with elastic is take some wood glue. You can use white glue as well, I'm sure. And then I just put one little drop of wood glue on there, on the knot, and spread it with my finger. That'll help secure the knot so it won't come undone. Okay? Then we take the nose cone and we simply screw that on with the threads that are already placed into the plastic, just like that. Then we can take this end, run it through our Kevlar loop, tie it off with a double knot. And you may have your own preference as to how you want to attach all this. If you're an experienced rocketeer and you've been doing this for a while, you may or may not have your own way of doing it that works for you, and that's by no means is there a problem with that. I'm just showing you one quick and easy way of doing it. Okay, just a little dab on the knot. Let me trim the tail off. There we go. Okay, so that takes care of our recovery system. Now we want to tuck all this in and get it out of the way. So let me just make some loops. Okay, shove that down, and lo and behold, you've got a pretty much completed rocket. Again, later on I'll cover that with some black paint, but for now it'll do its job. And then really simply after this, you can take your fin can, lay it over the engine mount, and run your retainer cap within the fin can, and then thread it onto the rocket. Just like that. And the rocket is done. The rocket will fly like this, however, we do want to decorate it. So I'm going to get my water and my tools ready to go for some decals, and we'll do that next. Okay, it's time to start with the decals. Now, one little trick I want to share with you, whenever I'm working with decals that have a black border, because for example, he very wisely printed this on white decal paper with a black backing so it would match the body tube. Yet if you notice on the side, you can see the white line around the base of the decal. So what I like to do is take a Sharpie and just cover up that side piece where the white's showing right on the edge, and that'll make a drastic difference, much improved to the overall look of the rocket. So I'm going to do this first. We'll let it sit while we do the cone decals. Just a minor little thing you can do, and this is after I cut out the decal, by the way. You can probably see the shape. I rounded the corners a little bit and just made the decal a little bit smaller. So I'm going to let that dry, although it is permanent, so it's pretty much dry already. But while that's setting up, we can go ahead and work on the nose cone decal. And there's no front or back to these, so you can just pick one side, and you want to take the little logo. Let me get my tweezers here and drop that into the water, the Firefly logo, and also an American flag. We can drop that in and get it working as well. So the Firefly logo is just going to go right in the middle of the nose cone, and then the American flag is going to be right below it. Let me pick a smooth side. That looks pretty good right there. Okay, that may be released already, we'll see. Yep. Okay, so just with your finger you can work it a little bit, get it straight, get it right where you want it. That looks good to me. Then I like to take a Q-tip Just kind of roll out the water that's below it. But by rolling it, you're not going to slide the decal out of position. It's going to stay where you put it. Okay, once you get the water out, then it remains somewhat permanent. Then you can be a little more aggressive and push to help apply and get the decal to stick. Okay, so there we go. There's the logo. Okay, now we'll get the American flag out and onto the bottom part here. That looks pretty good to me right there. So I'm going to go ahead and set it in position. Okay. You may also want to take just a paper towel and dab it. Don't slide it. You'll move the decal, but just dab it to help push out any moisture that may be underneath still. But I think that looks pretty darn good right there. Okay, so now we're ready for the big decal. I believe the permanent marker has probably done its job by now. Okay, so we're going to dip this in the water. And with my finger, I'm also going to run a little bit of water. And we want this decal on the exact opposite side of the launch lug, just for cosmetic purposes. Okay. And I am keeping it on the fins for now, just to keep it from rolling and kind of give me a perspective, because I mounted the fins directly perpendicular to the launch lug right here. So I know if it's sitting like this, I just have to get the decal on the very top of the rocket. We'll let that sit for another second or two. Now, when I do get to the other two models, the build's going to be very similar, so I may skip a couple steps on the video for sake of time, but at least I wanted to get this first one completely done on video so you can see how the Kevlar and the elastics are attached to the rocket. But the decals, that's what really makes the difference between these, so that's what's going to be fun. And personally, I enjoy decals. It brings life to the model. And let's see, is it sliding off yet? Yep, there it goes. You know what? I'm gonna soak it a little bit longer. Oh, there it is. I think that little dip right there broke it free. Okay, now I think she'll slide much easier. There it goes. Okay, try to get more or less in the middle as best we can. Don't worry about the nose cone alignment, because that can rotate anyways. We're just working on getting it somewhat centered on the body tube as best we can. There, that looks good to me. Looks really good. Okay. Take our Q-tip, and remember, we're just going to roll for now, because if we slide it, it will slide the decal. There, now I can work the middle out better, and just kind of pull the sides down. Okay, and we'll take our paper towel and we'll dab it and kind of push to the outside. What I like about his plastics that he uses in his 3D printing is they take decals very well. Never had any issues of them lifting. They apply smooth, they lay down nicely. Now I want to show you the side of the decal. You can hardly see it, if at all. It's very, very light, if you see any white at all, because that permanent marker did its job as far as sealing the sides. So there we have it. That is the completed model of the Firefly Alpha for Max-Q rockets. I will now clear the board and we will get the other two built. Okay, next up is the Rocket Lab Electron. Now one thing you'll notice about this rocket is it's different body tube size. And this does take the mini A engines, it doesn't take the full size. And it also runs a 3-fin design as opposed to the 4. Okay, so we'll set that aside. But the build process is basically identical. You can see the 2 holes on the launch lug and the 1 hole going down the side of the body tube. But again, the big difference is the diameter of this is much more narrow than the Firefly. In fact, let me set the Firefly next to it to show you the difference. You can see the diameter difference there. So that's basically it. The design, well, and that and the decals, and same decal system. It's going to be a black border around, so we'll want to trim that. But here are the decals and the pamphlet. We've got our bag of Kevlar and elastic and our streamer. And yeah, so let me go ahead and build up the rocket the same way I did on the other one. I'm just going to attach the Kevlar and the elastic, and then we'll start the decals. Okay, the Rocket Lab Electron is assembled more or less. I will show you that we do have the Kevlar tied into the launch lug just like we did on the previous model, and then it extends out the front to our elastic shock cord, which is then tied onto our nose cone plug. So while we kind of assemble this, let's go ahead and get some of the decals soaking in the water. So let me bring the water dish over and we'll get the Electron. And I did the same thing on this. After I cut it out of the decal paper, I did go around the edges with a Sharpie just to kind of clean those up a little bit. And let's get our little flag here too. Come on, guy. There you go. Okay, so while those are soaking, we can go ahead and take our nose cone assembly and thread it onto the cap. My fingers are now wet and it's not real easy, but there we go. There we go. So we got the nose cap on, and we can go ahead and insert all that into the body tube. Now, being a much smaller diameter body tube, I haven't decided yet how I want to go about doing a recovery system. If I want to put the streamer on or a small 6-inch parachute. But again, I believe even on hard surfaces, the streamer would be sufficient. Okay, so there. Nose cone is inserted. And feel free if you need to. If it's a little tight on the nose cone, you can always sand the shoulder down just a little bit. If it's a little too tight and you don't think the motor will eject it, you can do that. We can also take our fin can and engine cap and get those threaded on. There we go. And in this case, I'm going to align the fin can up with the launch lug. So we're going to mount all the decals at this point here. So let's go ahead and start. We're actually going to work our way up. So let's start with the small one. Let's do the American flag. It goes at the base of the rocket. Oops, sorry if I bumped the camera there. And it looks like it splits the American flag right at the split line of the gray and the black. Okay. And then the next one up would be the Electron name. That goes right above the flag. There we go. Get that centered. Okay, needs to be a little closer to the flag, I think. There, just like that. And we'll work out the water. Okay. Take my paper towel. Help blot out the excess water. Okay, that's looking good. See what I mean about, you use that black Sharpie on the edge and it almost totally eliminates that white line you see. Okay, now let's get our little logo here. And this is going to go just below the silver or gray line near the midway point. So lay that down. Get it as best centered as we can. Okay. Don't want to slide, just kind of rolling it. There we go. All right, so now we have the completed Rocket Lab Electron. Ready to insert a half-A motor and the streamer, and we are good to go. All right, let's move on to the last one, which is the ABL RS1. Okay, the third rocket in the small lift bundle is going to be the ABL RS1. And the most notable difference you'll see is the color. It's an all-white body tube with simple roll pattern decals, which will be fun to apply. But this is probably most similar to the building of the Firefly Alpha, based on its size and design. The Rocket Lab Electron is just a lot smaller, but there we go. That's what it'll look like when it's done. It's actually quite a beautiful little rocket. So just like before, I'll go ahead and build this off camera. It's the exact same design and setup. So let me do that and we'll come back for the decals. Okay, just like before, I've got the tethers all tied up with the Kevlar and the elastic to the launch lug mount. Like I said, just like on the other models. All the way to the nose cone cap. So we can go ahead and start linking all these attachments together using the threads. Okay, and then let's do the fin can and the engine cap. I like how the design calls for the engine cap to actually fit into the fin can like that, and then by threading this onto the body tube, it actually pinches the fins onto the body tube. Very clever design. Okay, so let me get this rotated perpendicular to the launch lug, just like so. All right, now let's go ahead and get this all stowed away in the body tube. I should have done what I did on the last model, is get the decals going. Nice fit. Get them going in the water. So let me get them in now. Get that process started. Okay. But once you get the basics down of one model, the same concept applies to all three, and they become quite easy and fun to put together. So there we have it. So looking at the diagram in the picture here, looks like we're going to have the RS1 right about the, just shy of halfway up. So we'll have the main decal here, the roll pattern, and then the small American flag just above it. And again, we're going to line everything up on the front, which is opposite side of the launch lug. Okay, so it's probably been long enough now. We can start getting things out of the water. Yep, RS1's already broke free. So we'll slide that into position. Oh, that looks really, really good. Okay. I'm going to mount that right about there. Looking down the length of the tube. Let me straighten it up a little bit. There we go. That looks really good. Roll out the water. Okay, now we'll use the towel. Whoops. See, it slid on me. It's still a little slippery when the water's still behind it. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. As luck would have it, as you saw, my camera decided to run out of memory just before I got those last decals down. But just to let you know, and I didn't realize until after the fact, and I'm in no way going to rip off decals and reshoot that portion of the video. But you can see I did do the roll pattern. When you do the roll pattern, make sure you start the decal at the back. That way as it wraps around, it meets at the seam again at the back. That way your front is completely clean and free of any seam lines or anything. So that's the trick to that one. And then the American flag, of course, it just fit right between the roll pattern and the nose cone. But it came out looking great. All three came out fantastic. I'm super excited, and I will let you in on a little sneak peek here. Hopefully later in the week I will be getting together with another local modeler, Michael from Mob Rockets. I'm sure you've seen, if you watch my channel, I'm sure you've seen his channel, and if you haven't, you need to. But we're going to be getting together and flying our small lift collection together. We'll do some side-by-side comparisons and just have a blast out there at the flying field. So that's what we've got to look forward to. I hope you're looking forward to it as well. I hope you enjoyed this quick little tutorial on the building of the 3 small lift rockets, all from Max Q Rockets. Again, they're reasonably priced individually, or if you get all 3 as a bundle, you save a little bit of money that way as well. So well worth the money. If you're new to the hobby, these are great starter rockets because the build, as you saw, is super easy, yet still fun. The decals are fun to put on, and what's most fun about it is we're going to get some great flights out of A motors and probably some half A's on the little guy here. So they're all to scale to one another. I cannot wait to get out to the field and start flying these guys. So with that, I will end the video. Thank you all for watching. God bless, and we will see you guys at the launch video.